A lot of people are talking about Israel and Palestine, and a lot of people talk about Israel and Palestine a lot because this conflict's been going on for decades. I'll be the first to admit I don't know everything about this, and I've only heard conflicting stories from the media and from activists. But I can tell you one thing. Do you know who I absolutely do not trust on this issue? The left, the far left, and the pro-Palestinian groups. Why? Because I keep seeing videos of Jewish people being beaten and attacked and not instigating that conflict. So I hear that in Israel, the Israeli government and the IDF are targeting civilians and keeping them in an open-air prison and all these things. And I'm like, I'd like to know more. Are there really these crimes being committed? And they say that Hamas is only defending the Palestinians from Israel. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know a lot about what's going on. Then I take a look over at the United States and I say, you're liars. Okay. So I don't know exactly what's happening in Israel and Palestine, Gaza, whatever, the West Bank. Only some stories I've heard. But I do know that the pro-Palestinian side lies all the time. Sorry, that's just the way it is. Let me just show you all the headlines that I get to read. Pro-Palestinian mob throws fireworks at pro-Israel supporters in NYC's Diamond District, injuring woman 55, and scream F Israel at Jewish people as cops arrest at least 20 in violent Times Square clashes. All right, so I hear these stories and I'm like, okay, maybe it's mutual combat. Okay, maybe there's no good guys in this. Maybe it's the Jewish people, the Israeli pro-Israel side, and they're all fighting each other. Okay, let's read more. May 12th, New York City attack on bloody Jewish man seeking refuge from Palestinian activists. The incident comes amid heavy fighting between Israeli forces and Hamas. Oh, okay. Why are pro-Palestinian people beating random Jewish people in New York City? Why have Orthodox Jews been chased down the street and beaten? Why has that video surfaced? Where's the story about the Orthodox Jews going around beating other people? Sorry, I haven't seen it. And I've actually lived in some of these in some areas of New York like this, and I've seen some of this. So I wonder, okay, they're just randomly beating Jewish people. Okay, there's more. Here's from the Times of Israel. All right, maybe a biased source. Jews attacked, one person burned amid pro-Palestinian protests in New York City. Okay, this is from today. They must be talking about the same thing from the other story. Where's the story of the Jewish people going into these districts, going to where the Palestinians are and attacking them? Oh, it's the pro-Palestinians are going to the Jewish areas. Okay. Here's a story from May 20th, just from the other day. New Jersey family target of anti-Semitic attack while vacationing in Florida. What is this? Eric Organ and his family say they were the targets of an ugly anti-Semitic attack while vacationing in Florida. It happened Tuesday as the family was walking in Ball Harbor. 4 people in an SUV rolled down their windows and began shouting anti-Semitic remarks and then threw garbage at the family. 4 males, probably in their early 20s, started to scream at us through the window. You know, free Palestine, F the Jews. I'm not going to read the next part. A driver who witnessed the attack pulled out a gun and chased the SUV as it sped off. The family filed a police report. Authorities are still trying to identify the suspects. And I see this video from Ian Miles Strong. Pro-Palestinian mob attacks Jewish diners by spitting on them. It's a video of people sitting in a restaurant and a pro-Palestinian group with their flags starts screaming and spitting on these people. Here's a story from NBC, April 25th. 4 NYC synagogues targeted by rock-throwing assailant, police. CNN, April 2nd. Attack on Jewish family is under investigation by NYPD Hate Crime Task Force. Okay. So I'll tell you this. I see video after video and story after story from a variety of sources, and it's almost always the pro-Palestinian side, which of course are aligned with many of the far left and the woke leftists, are attacking Jewish people. I did a segment on this before. It's insane to me that we live in a time where people actually buy this propaganda. They buy the stories from these pro-Palestinian activists who are going around attacking random Jewish people. I understand there's a conflict. I understand there is establishment support for Israel. But even the videos that I see from the left are blatant lies. For instance, one video I saw recently, they said Hamas defending itself. And it was Hamas firing rockets into civilian areas of Israel. And I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? Even your own videos don't show them defending themselves. Launching missiles, so they say, from civilian areas. And then We see the aftermath of buildings in Israel being hit by rockets. And then here's what we get. We get the left saying, well, Israel is a settler colonialism. And then you get the right saying it was, it's legal settlement and it's a conflict and war. And I'm like, I'm not going to go back to the history. I'm sorry. I don't know. You want to talk about something? It's been going on well before I was born. And I just don't know. What I do know is Hamas defending themselves, firing rockets at civilians. It's a very strange way to defend yourself. Then I hear from people say, well, it's because of what Israel's doing in the West Bank. So why don't they send their resources to the West Bank to defend the homes of the Palestinians who are being, kicked out of their houses? I don't know. I can't say I'm a fan of the conflict regardless of who's engaging in it. I can tell you, if you post a video on Twitter of Hamas firing rockets into civilian areas and they're like, look, they're defending themselves. Bro, they're initiating conflict. Now there's a ceasefire. So I'm not going to talk about, for the most part, what's going on in Israel and between Israel and Palestine, Gaza, etc. Because I don't know enough about it. I can tell you that a truce takes hold after Israel-Hamas reach ceasefire to halt conflict. All right, that's a good thing. But I can show you, when I pull up these stories, I can invariably hear the left saying I'm using biased sources, it's Times of Israel, it's Fox News. What about ABC talking about this stuff? What about the videos they post? I got NBC, ABC, and CNN. Okay? I suppose they'd want me to pull up some leftist source. Why? So they can just lie? I suppose they'll say these sources are lying as well, which is why I pulled up CNN to show this anti-Semitism stuff has been going on for a long, long time. They try to hide it. As you know, the Women's March